Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's VIN-dow with Robert Hollinshead. And good early March to you, Bob. I think
How
we're
you
10
doing,
days away
Shawnee?
from
We
your...
haven't talked for a couple of weeks here.
Well, I'm
I've
going to
been
be honest
playing
with
hooky
you.
over here.
And I skipped out. I went to your neighbors to the south. I took the missus down to Cancun for a week, so that was fun.
That's great. Nothing wrong with that.
Drove in my first Chinese-made vehicle, and I was
pretty
impressed by it. So,
did you do the obligatory trip to all the ruins and so forth?
Yes. Nothing like Machu Picchu, but it was still fun.
Can't beat it, pal.
So, I know you hate the question. I'm going to ask it anyways. And how's the market doing, Bob?
Well, we can only say, obviously, from our little perch, in a tree, and not. I hope people don't take it as if we're somehow or other acting as if we're some authority that knows things that other people don't. We are students, obviously, of what we do, and always have been, and love to help others, with anything we can as far as like our experience and so forth. And I think, over the decades, I have actually come to the conclusion when things seem like they're getting better and we're, hey, I don't know what's going on, man, but the market's on fire. You follow me? The banner you normally hear in the auction lanes, and since the auction lanes are like Fred Flintstone time, right? You don't really get to, and younger people that wouldn't know necessarily who we are or what we do, or the pedigree of things and so forth. They've never been exposed and really don't understand the banter, the co-validation is what I call it, actually, of talking to your peers that you see every day to get their opinion of things from a different perspective, sometimes similar, sometimes radically different, being from a different place for different brands that they're specialists in and so forth, right? And there's probably like 8 or 10 different things that when we say, Jesus Christ, this market's on fire, what's going on? Interest rates are high, approvals are low, inventory is going up. All the things that you obviously hear ad nauseum from 87 different directions to the point where your ears go closed listening to the bullshit, right? But I think, the thing, a lot of these things are obvious, but when you add them up, it turns out to be, my explanation as why it's not that shocking. We in our management system, we see week over week, month over month, year over year, decade over decade. So I, frequently at the end of the day, a couple times a week, look at the results and then overlay it on the year before and so forth. Last year, 2023 January, we had an explosion. We had a post-COVID explosion in terms of the market. Average gross profit went wild, unbelievable. And I had forgotten all about last January being that crazy, inexplicably goofy in terms of what cars were bringing it. You follow me? Obviously settled down mid-year and turned into a mud market where you're, it just was like not fun for a while, right? Everything's fine, but just not fun. And what it really boils down to get to the marrow of this is, when we look at I get the statistics on a weekly basis of how many dealers are registered. So that's a good indication of what's going to happen. Anticipation of, enough people in old times filling the lanes. In other words, you're getting mustard on your shoes because you're stepping on people, they're stepping on you, and all the rest of it, right? Bumping into things. And as the number of people registered increases, and it's dramatically increased the last couple of weeks, prior to the auction, when you see that information, you start. I try to temper it because you don't want to think it's going to be good. It turns out to be bad. That makes your second cigar taste a little bitter. You dig it? The next thing is the number of proxy bids. Now, we don't get to see the proxy bids, but we do get to see what cars have proxy bids on them. So we don't know what the numbers are. They could all be $1. But when you see 2 and 3 and 5 proxy bids on, a lane number 224, right? The probability is two things that occur there. One, you get a really close understanding of the desirability of that bitch. You dig it? So when you actually then look to see what kind of car it is, it's our analysts actually use this directly to understand the desirability. Pay attention, Johnny. Prior to the auction, you dig it? Not after. Anybody can pontificate nonsense in a rearview mirror. You understand? But when you can predict prior to the sale that something, for whatever reason, is got numerous proxies, it's really safe to say that that category of car, down to the specific VIN number, there's something about it that the tits are sticking up. You understand? And again, that does not always prove out to be a fact, but it typically is a fact, right? So that would be registered dealers' number of proxy bids. One of the things that I use to really understand, I don't use it directly, but it's an indirect information guideline, is post-sale, how many cars we actually sold to CarMax. When the market's getting better, CarMax are scientists. They're really good at what they do. I've said it a million times. They're the best employment agency in the country, training people how to do things. But simultaneously, they and their process, when they start to go in deep, it's only because maybe they're low on cars. I don't believe it's that case. I think they have enough internal information, probably from their auctions as well, to know when the market's taking a turn. You follow me? And they're smart enough that when it does take a turn, like it's turned in the last few weeks, they buy less, at least from us. You follow me? So in a good week, if we're selling 50 or 60 cars, out of our little group of cars, in a mediocre week, they're a lot more. It's not even that they're more selective; they just don't get pushed to be the best end user. You understand? In other words, they'll buy the car, but they won't buy it for the advanced price of what the market is dictating. Does that make any sense to you, Shawnee? So I'm just looking right now. Last week we only sold them. It looks like 20 cars, right? So it's not a lot of cars. Doesn't change our world. The cars that we sold them, actually, gross profit was similar to what it was for the week. So it's not like they're paying more money than anybody else. They're buying less. And the next piece of this is really, to me, a direct indication of when the market is proven to be better. Carfax has less effect. So what I notice nationwide, the Northeast has a greater reaction to Carfax than, let's say, the South does. A car with Carfax in Alabama or Kentucky or Tennessee does not have the same negative effect on the value of the car as it does, let's say, Maryland North. You follow me? So if you want to call us sissies, the buyers sissies north of Maryland, or up in through New England and so forth, you could, but it's also because we have more loose cars available than areas, let's say, Kansas to Alabama to Texas to Arizona. In other words, the number of cars we have that are closer are greater, and the probability of a new car dealer wholesaling them is much greater than it is in other areas. So I don't want to go into that too deep because we'll lose everybody. But when I noticed that Carfax affected cars that have a touch on fax, you could talk all that minor, major bullshit you want to. It's total nonsense as far as I'm concerned. But you'll find that the car with a touch on fax getting much closer to usually making a little bit more money than a car without a fax when it actually underreacts, based on who's bidding on it, to a fax. And CarMax does buy a car with a touch on fax. Why would that be, Shawnee? Very simple. They touched them. So they're not doing I'll trust the car, the CR. No. When CarMax buys the car with a touch on fax, their fingers went on the edges. They actually sniffed and looked around that unit to understand the impact. Forget what Carfax says, minor or major, which they obviously have no concept, minor or major. A minor with airbag deployment. Yeah, right. Okay, gotcha. So when CarMax is bidding on those cars, they've touched them. They don't make mistakes with that. We never get a car back for frame or some crazy thing from CarMax, even though we have an open, like everybody knows, we'll take any car back if you ain't happy with it. You understand? We don't get them back from car. We can get a car back from Carfax for some other reason, or one out of every 500 or something, but typically not, and that's because they sniff and touch. You see what I'm saying to you, Shawnee? Now, when they buy less, the indication is to us in these 10 little things that the market's moving and it's not rational to pay what the market's willing to actually pay. You follow me? The next little item on that list is less buyer's remorse. So when you do get caught up bidding, let's say, and then after you're done showing everybody how tough you are and you overpaid for a car, in a really good market, you don't have people begging off the car. Oh, I didn't know it was my cat that touched my cursor. It wasn't me. Bob, please don't make me. Okay, no problem, pal. Take it. You don't get those goofball stories at the end of the day. You follow me? Because even though they overpaid or theoretically overpaid, no, you have less people whining. You see what I'm saying? The next piece of that is what people will arbitrate. When arbitration goes down, the market has got firmer. It's part of buyer's remorse. People looking for reasons to get out of cars because they wanted to be a big shot and buy it and then found out they paid too much after they bought two others for less and are looking for a way to wiggle. An ARB is way off. In other words, the number of claims that are going in and the number of adjustments or cars we take back because somebody's not happy is much less. You see what I'm saying? Another indication that the market's getting better and there's more activity that people actually are buying because they really do want to buy, not because that's the way they get paid or whatever. You follow me? The next little item is, and it's not like an exceptional car doesn't always bring the money, because 100% of the time something with all the gear, the right miles, the right colors, with something that's really good always brings the money. But in this market, that car brings exceptional money. They're the ones bringing moonshots and no buyer's remorse because it's what I call a point car. When they buy it, it's not getting buried in between the silver bad Carfax V Auto says it's a good buy shit where you're hiding it in the middle and selling it to somebody with challenged credit. It's the one that goes on the point or it goes up on the ladder, spinning in the wheels, so the whole world knows how smart you are. You found that. You follow me? And exceptional cars are bringing rocket money. Make no mistake. So it's not like exceptional cars are every third car. No, that's middle of bell curve cars doing good. The exceptional car is something that you're like really proud that you pinched, and you're getting rewarded for that, right? So that is absolutely occurring. Car that brings 2G, 3G, 5G more than you anticipated, and a happy buyer. You follow me? And then I would say one of the other things that is very clear to me, because our system actually clarifies it, our management system shows it on a weekly basis, daily basis actually, who buys what from what distance. So the ripple effect. In other words, when you drop the car in the market, there's certain cars that get absorbed frequently within, let's say, 50 miles or 100 miles. You follow me? And that typically is like a cheaper car that there's a huge number of people buying the 15G car that looks like a car, smells like one, and even runs. You follow me? So you don't need to go from our location to Seattle to find the best end user. You dig it? Where you do see it constantly is on, what you would call exotic cars. In other words, moron cars, 100, 200, 300, 500 cars. There's a limited number of people that are players, and they typically are cars that will travel further distance because you got something that, those people focused on those cars are more apt to buy. But what happens in a really good market is, you're selling like a middle of the bell curve car to Minnesota, to Texas, to Florida, where it's going to cost you $600-700 to move it. And that obviously is, we do pay attention to that. Where does a 5G car go? It's very unlikely it's going to Chicago. You follow me? A 15G car, definitely in a good market, you could actually be selling that car way out of what you would normally believe you'd need to find the best end user. And what we're seeing right now is not just more people logging in, but more people buying from a much further distance for cars that seems like they'd be able to find much closer. Does that make any sense to you, Sean? And I think all of those topics that we just touched on in this particular market, it's in full regalia. Now the question is obviously, well, it's tax money. I know it's springtime. Yeah. I get it. The question is how long it's going to actually stay, because there's so many things that so many whiners are saying why the market's bad and it's no good and I can't get customers and Facebook Marketplace don't work and all this other things that people make up, which is it's also normal when you're not doing as good as you think you should. You're looking for reasons and so forth, right? And then when other people are saying how great they're doing, you start looking yourself in the mirror and wonder, you got something wrong with you, and that's normal as well. I think what we see right now is a market that you go back to the old saying: if you don't have them, you can't sell them. They got plenty of new cars, and the cars are bringing big money, which seems like a collision of facts, right? But that's where I personally see the market that we're in today. You see what I'm saying to you? Does that make any sense to you, pal?
Well, I really like each of these indicators because it doesn't really matter if you're selling the Holmes Head lanes out of Manheim, Pennsylvania, or you're selling the lanes up here in North. They all ring true to a strong market, regardless what segment you're actually selling in. So it's amazing insight, and I thank you for sharing, Bob.
Thank you, Shani. I'm surprised I didn't put you to sleep. See you, pal. See you, everybody.
Bye.